The Color of Justice, the story of a judge and a white man. In the heart of Franklin City, where skyscrapers reached for the heavens and life moved at a dizzying pace, a courthouse stood tall, a monument to fairness, integrity, and the pursuit of justice. Its gray stone walls had witnessed countless trials, from petty theft to life-altering cases. But nothing prepared the people of Franklin or its most revered judge, Martin Hayes, for the trial that would shake the foundation of the legal system and become a defining moment in the judge's long and storied career. Judge Martin Hayes was a man whose name was synonymous with justice. Known for his calm demeanor, unwavering principles, and razor-sharp intellect, he had earned the respect of his peers and the admiration of the public. For over 30 years, Judge Hayes had presided over cases with an impartiality that was rare in a world often swayed by wealth and power. But beneath the stoic exterior lay a man who had faced his own battles with injustice. Born in the segregated South, Martin Hayes had grown up in an era when opportunities for black men were scarce. He had seen his father wrongfully accused of a crime, his family ostracized, and his community silenced by fear. It was these experiences that fueled his determination to fight for justice, to ensure that no one, regardless of race, status, or wealth, would ever feel powerless in the face of the law. It was this conviction that guided him as he took his seat on a chilly Monday morning to preside over the trial of Edward Grayson, a name that had become synonymous with scandal. Grayson, a wealthy white businessman, was accused of embezzling millions from his company. His actions had bankrupted dozens of employees, forcing families to sell their homes and live in shelters. The city was watching closely, and the question on everyone's mind was simple: would justice prevail, or would Grayson's money and influence shield him from accountability? The courtroom was packed to capacity. Victims of Grayson's fraud sat in the gallery, their faces etched with pain and anger. Journalists scribbled furiously in their notebooks, capturing every detail for the morning headlines. Grayson, dressed in a tailored suit, entered the courtroom with an air of arrogance, flanked by a team of high-profile lawyers. He exuded confidence, as though the trial was merely a formality, a game he had already won. The prosecution, led by an impassioned young attorney named Rebecca Lee, presented a mountain of evidence. Bank records, forged documents, and testimonies from employees painted a damning picture of Grayson's deceit. Witness after witness took the stand, sharing stories of betrayal and despair. One woman, a single mother of 3, broke down as she recounted how she had trusted Grayson's promises of financial security, only to lose everything when the company collapsed. Grayson's defense team, however, was relentless. They argued that the accusations were baseless, the result of a smear campaign by disgruntled employees. They portrayed Grayson as a victim of circumstance, a man who had made mistakes but had no malicious intent. Their strategy was clear: to sow doubt and shift blame onto anyone but their client. Judge Hayes listened intently, his expression unreadable. He had seen cases like this before, cases where the rich and powerful twisted the truth to escape justice. But this time, something felt different. This was more than just a trial, it was a test of whether the legal system could stand up to the corrupting influence of wealth and privilege. As the trial progressed, Judge Hayes found himself reflecting on his own journey. He remembered the nights he had spent studying by candlelight, the sacrifices his parents had made to send him to law school, and the countless battles he had fought to prove himself in a world that often judged him by the color of his skin. He thought about the promises he had made to himself as a young man, that he would be a voice for the voiceless, a defender of the truth. The turning point came on the 7th day of the trial, when a whistleblower named Sarah Miller took the stand. Sarah, a young accountant who had worked under Grayson, had been coerced into falsifying financial records. Her hands shook as she held up copies of the documents she had secretly saved. "I couldn't live with the lies anymore," she said, her voice trembling. "I had to come forward, no matter the consequences." Her testimony was a bombshell. The courtroom fell silent as Sarah's courage laid bare the depth of Grayson's corruption. Even Grayson's lawyers seemed momentarily stunned. When the jury left to deliberate, the tension in the room was palpable. Grayson sat with an air of defiance, his smirk a reminder that he believed his wealth would protect him. But Judge Hayes knew better. He had seen the truth in Sarah's eyes, in the tears of the victims, and in the unwavering determination of the prosecution. After hours of deliberation, the jury returned with a unanimous verdict: guilty. A wave of relief swept through the courtroom. Victims wept openly, embracing one another as the weight of their suffering began to lift. Grayson's confidence shattered, replaced by a look of disbelief and fear as he realized his money could no longer save him. Judge Hayes took a deep breath as he prepared to deliver the sentence. His voice was steady, but the emotion behind his words was palpable. "Justice is not a privilege reserved for the powerful," he said. "It is a promise to every individual, a commitment that the truth will prevail. Today, this court reaffirms that promise." He sentenced Grayson to the maximum penalty allowed by law, ensuring that he would be held accountable for his crimes. For the victims, it was more than a verdict, it was a validation of their pain, a recognition that they mattered. As Grayson was led away in handcuffs, Judge Hayes looked out at the courtroom. He saw the faces of the employees who had fought so hard for justice, their expressions a mix of relief and hope. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of peace. That evening, as the sun set over the city, Judge Hayes stood on the steps of the courthouse, gazing at the horizon. He thought about the long road he had traveled, the battles he had fought, and the lives he had touched. Justice, he realized, was not about power or privilege, it was about truth, about giving a voice to the voiceless and standing up for what was right. And though the fight for justice was far from over, Judge Hayes knew he would continue to fight, for as long as he could. Because justice, he believed, was not just an ideal, it was the light that guided humanity through the darkest of times.